Does one too. Okay, so this is going, I don't know how long this stream is going to be today, but I had to cover this person. I had to show you guys this person because she's crazy. This is one of the most like humorously unhinged people I've seen posting defense of Israel online, and it reads like a parody. Okay, so what would be a good way to start off with covering Lizzy Savetsky? And shout out to my editor Kate for showing me this person. It's just so funny. Hey, what's going on, me outs? So you go onto her Twitter, proud Jewish woman on a mission. You look her up online. The first picture, the first thing that shows up in your search result is she's wearing a Israeli flag outfit. That's the literal first thing that shows up when you search her. And I know we've been covering a lot of like Ethan Klein on this channel, but we have to remember that he's kind of like the liberal shield of the absolute depravity and fascism that these people just openly espouse. Ethan Klein says the same things that these people say, but he does it underneath a liberal veneer, and he self-moderates. He really does self-moderate. Okay, so first off, let's start on her Instagram. And this was the first thing I clicked, which is just...
Today we saw once again...
Once again, this isn't the most egregious thing that she posts, but this is an indication of the type of content, creator that she is, where she has her kids reading off of a script. Obviously, like, it has no qualms about exploiting her children for content online. So we can listen to a little bit of the cringiness that she's posting.
Hello.
I'm James.
And we're about to go into the Jewish holiday of Shavuot. James, did you ever realize how weird it is that this holiday basically celebrates getting responsibilities?
Yeah, so congrats. Here are 613 commandments and happy holiday.
Exactly, but doesn't have to be a total buzzkill. Shavuot isn't just about...
Anyway, we don't need to cover it too much, but obviously says a lot about the mom of them, making them read off a script and using them for content on her Instagram. That you just have this completely, I mean, insane little trailer that she created for herself, and I have to love the comment section in here. So she posts this: 2024, the year we fought relentlessly for the Jewish people, the truth for Israel, and most of all, our hostages. We fought and fought, but we failed to bring them home. We failed them all. 2025, the year we keep fighting with everything we have. So yeah, right off the bat, no mention of the hundreds, at least like tens of thousands of Palestinian people that have been killed, the hundreds of thousands of Palestinian people that have been displaced in Gaza. And if you are only talking about like your side of people, and I don't care, I'm not even gonna like mention the tens of thousands of people that have been killed, all I'm going to mention are the Israeli hostages, then you're racist. Like, to tote a line that Ethan Klein says all the time, we can care about two things at once, right? But the only reason to not care about the actual Palestinian people is you think their lives have less value than the hostages that they have. Okay, so let's just play a little bit of this.
This is what is happening every day in Israel.
So right off the bat, it's a fire truck burning, or like a shed burning. And she's like, this is what happens every day in Israel. At the same time, over 90% of all of the buildings in Gaza have been completely destroyed. And there's over like 500,000 people displaced.
Look at this. This is what is happening every day in Israel. We are people of love. And your hate cannot stop our love. Bring them home! Bring them home! We are Hamas! We are not afraid! Doing for our women! I'm not going to stop until every single one of them is home! Unmask the hate! You do not stand for human rights! You do not stand for women's rights!
What used to be our loss. We don't feel it.
Where is our son? Like, what the hell? Where is he?
There are still 13 Israeli women held hostage in Gaza right now.
All I'm fighting for is to bring you home.
She was wearing, was that her? I hate that you can't rewind this. She's wearing a Zionist Barbie shirt. That's crazy.
Bring you home. Bring you home.
Look at this. This is
Anyway, so all like endlessly ironic to make a video like that while not mentioning any of the death and devastation that Israel has met upon Gaza. So, and then also like the comment section is just amazing. Viva Palestine, Libre, Free Palestine, watermelons, Palestinian flag, Palestinian flag. I am the victim here, Palestinian flag. Can you make a similar video for the tens of thousands of Palestinians that have been killed in the last 18 months? Or are their lives not as important? I mean, yeah, she's getting called out for this, rightfully. Rightfully so. May 2025 be the year when all of our hostages are released, our enemies destroyed. Our enemies destroyed. College campuses become safe again for Jewish students and like, just look at the difference between the comments. It's just like a Palestinian flag, right? Saying free Palestine, end the apartheid. Can you talk about all of the tens of thousands of Palestinians that have been killed, or are their lives not as important? And then you get like a Zionist in the replies, and they're like, college campuses in the US aren't safe for Jewish students. We must destroy our enemies and completely get rid of anti-Semitism. And once again, eradicating anti-Semitism for the Zionist means that you can't criticize Israel anymore. And then you go onto her Twitter, and I'm like, okay, well, she's crazy, but you know, she's probably like at least a liberal. Then you get this first thing on her Twitter, posted today. If you're wondering what's happened to global warming, here's your answer. She's a global warming denier too.
It's June 1st and it is freezing in New York. It's about 50 degrees here right now. And I was wondering what happened to global warming, and then I realized that our little climate activist Greta Thunberg has decided to set sail to Gaza. So I guess global warming is over and now we're just free in Palestine. It's June 1st.
I love this. This is a completely new angle. Like the idea that you can somehow combine like being a global warming truther or climate change denialist with being a Zionist and just being like endlessly racist towards Palestinians and endlessly bigoted and hateful towards people that speak out and are advocates of Palestinians is just like, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful nexus of two different despicable groups of people. Like, actually, what the hell? She posted this today, and apparently because it's 50 degrees, or wait, maybe it was yesterday she posted this. Please, what are the comments on here? We'll just run this back one more time.
New York. It's June 1st and it is.
Like, the implication that global warming only existed because Greta Thunberg was talking about it is just so fucking hilarious. It's actually like quite similar to what Ethan Klein says too, where he's like, if people speak out too much about Israel, then you're going to give Netanyahu a platform and you're just going to allow him to consolidate more and more power, which is, it's like speaking truth, I guess, to like the fascistic minded person, speaking truth to power, speaking about the bad things that Trump or Netanyahu or any like powerful person, or just like a bad thing in general, speaking about that means that it's real. It's very conspiracy minded. It's really baby brained. And it kind of brings you back into the times where you thought lightning was God being angry with you and smiting you, and if you spoke the name of the evil God, then bad things would happen. Like, it's very caveman brained. It doesn't fit the narrative anymore. These are her new marching orders. Hamas could win me over with one swift act. Oh, shut up, bitch. Okay, this might be the best response to that. This is so dense and stupid, it's barely worth commenting on, but here goes. People can care about more than one issue at a time and can focus on one that I mean, yeah, what, like, is she saying that Okay, it's not even worth analyzing at all.
It's June 1st, and it is freezing in New York. It's about 50 degrees here right now. And I was wondering what happened to global warming, and then I realized that our little climate activist Greta Thunberg has decided to set sail to Gaza. So I guess global warming is over, and now we're just free in Palestine. It's June 1st, and
Now we're just freeing Palestine. She just has so much hatred in her heart. Okay, we need to see some more of this. What is this? Pro-Hamas riot at W. Orange Shul sparks outrage. At W. Orange Shul sparks outrage and legal battle. The Jewish link. This is institutionalized anti-Semitism and must be dealt with. What is this? W. Orange Shul? Okay, I have no idea what she's talking about. W. Orange Shul. What is this? Congregation, the largest shul in West Orange, New Jersey. Congregation AABG and D offers a full range of religious, social, and educational programming for individuals and families. So it's a synagogue in New Jersey? And they had a riot there where they're just chilling, standing in a park with a guy reading off of a podium? That's a pro-Hamas riot? Once again, how can a riot definitionally is not an institution? A riot definitionally is not institutionalized. Pro-Hamas riot sparks outrage and legal battle. On November 13th, 2024. Wait, this was like over a year ago. Oh wait, no, not over a year ago. What am I saying? This was like over half a year ago, though. Shule. It's not shul. It's not like the word school, but if you have a speech impediment. Originally scheduled at the home of Renee. This was in November. Why is she posting about it now? The assault So he's recently fallen in combat in Lebanon. The pro-Hamas protesters arrived en masse, disrupting the event. They aggressively confronted Dr. Glick and the other community members standing outside the synagogue, demonstrating what those presented believed was intent to incite violence. Oh my God. So they didn't do any violence, but they demonstrated what they believed was the intent to incite. So they weren't even inciting violence, but they were demonstrating the potential of their intent to incite violence. They shouted and blew horns directly into the ears of Jewish attendees. As tensions escalate, I love it. It's just like, oh my God, you did so much violence. Okay, what did I do? Well, you blew a horn. As tensions escalated, 64-year-old David Silberberg of Millburn allegedly used pepper spray. Okay. So a 64-year-old did actual violence, which was using pepper spray. Dr. Glick did not know about the pepper spray event until later that evening. Wow. So it was so violent, he didn't even know about the one act of violence until later that evening. Instead of calling for police assistance, about 10 seconds later, one of the protesters, 42-year-old Altif Sharaf of Cliffside Park, attacked Silberberg after another protester pointed him out, indicating, "The Jews here." Wait, indicating the Jews. Did he say the Jews here? Okay. Sheriff then grabbed Silberberg by the throat, put him in a chokehold, and tackled him down the hill. So he got pepper sprayed and then defended himself from it. At the bottom of the hill between the synagogue and a fire station, the assault continued. There was deep concern by bystanders. Well, he still had David Silberberg in a chokehold with his head facing down towards the asphalt in the shul parking lot. I saw his legs buckled and feared his neck was broken or that he was being choked out. I believed his life was in danger. Throughout the attack, Dr. Glick reportedly called for police intervention, but the officers who were deployed at the top of the hill did not respond, despite his attempts to push back. Okay, anyway, like, who really cares about this? It happened last November. I don't know why she's, like, posting this like it's, like, once again, I don't know why you're posting this yesterday like it was something new that happened. My thoughts on Trump telling Bibi not to strike Iran.
Hey guys, so I haven't been able
Really important so that we get her thoughts on this.
Stop thinking about this clip that I saw yesterday of President Trump saying that he told Bibi that it wouldn't be appropriate to strike Iran right now.
What exactly did you tell him? Did you
I just said I don't think it's appropriate. We're having very good discussions with him, and I said I don't think it's appropriate right now, because if we can settle it with a very strong document, very strong.
I have a lot of thoughts. Firstly, why would Trump want to announce this to the world? Wouldn't you want to keep Iran guessing about potential attacks? Also, why expose any
Why? He's trying to make a deal with. Why would you want the person you're trying to make a deal with, like this? Why would you want the person you're trying to make a deal with to be guessing if you're going to shoot them? What are you talking about? No, a deal is built off of trust. Like, an agreement is built off of mutual trust. What the fuck? That's one of the stupidest things I've ever heard. Yeah, you want to keep Iran guessing if you're going to just randomly bomb them the next day.
Wouldn't you want to keep Iran guessing about potential attacks? Also, why expose any sort of
She's
daylight
really
whatsoever
evil.
between the United States and Israel? It's very dangerous. But much more important,
What?
any sort of daylight.
Why would you expose any sort of daylight between the United States and Israel? Did she use that in the correct way, or is that like a new? I'm just gonna assume she used that in the wrong way. I don't think definition of daylight is a breakdown in trust or collaboration
Whatsoever between the United States and Israel. It's very dangerous. But much more importantly, for Trump to tell Bibi not to strike Iran because of their so-called deal in the works, that is what seems inappropriate to me. Israel isn't even a part of this potential deal with Iran, and Iran is a much more immediate and greater threat to Israel than to America. We all know that America isn't going to be striking.
Yeah, okay, so the point of making a deal is to try to get Iran to not get nuclear weapons. That's the point of making a deal. And ostensibly, that would be why Israel wants to bomb Iran too, because they say it's to stop them from getting nuclear weapons. They want to bomb their nuclear facilities. But we know that's not really why Israel wants to attack Iran. They want to attack Iran because they see Iran as like the only threat to their complete regional dominance. And they want to weaken Iran. And the United States doesn't really care about that. It doesn't really give too much of a shit about that because they like the constant conflict in the Middle East. They make a lot of weapons selling to Israel, or they like make a lot of money selling weapons to Israel. But yeah, they don't want like nuclear war. Also, Trump loves the idea that he is a deal maker and he can get things done. So I think that's part of the driving force of why Trump wants to make deals with Iran. And he doesn't want Netanyahu to take the lead on things. Like, we know Trump loves to have people come and talk to him. That's like a huge part of the tariffs. He wanted all of the countries, all of the world leaders to come and bow to him, kiss his ring, and then he can basically be like, okay, you did a good job making up with me. I'll take the tariffs down because you're such a nice guy. I'm friends with all of them. They all love me. And that's why he wants to make a deal with Iran, and why he wants to basically like take out Netanyahu's agency in dealing with Iran. Filters working overtime here. Yeah, these filters are about to break down. Might as well just be AI at this point.
At least not anytime soon. And so, of course, it falls on Israel. And that is what really needs to happen and is what has needed to happen for a long time.
God.
And this whole thing, very concerning and very confusing.
It's very the idea that we might have a peace plan and war won't be necessary is very concerning to me. I mean, I love how she ends out with it's very confusing. Free Palestine is a death cult. End of story. Okay, what kind of gem do we have here?
Musicians at a concert that have nothing to do. I don't know about you guys, but whenever I see the Palestinian flag, I feel the exact same way as if I am seeing a Nazi flag, as if I am seeing a swastika. To me, there's absolutely no difference. They both want me dead. I see it on a license plate, when I see it pulled out by musicians at a concert that have nothing to do with the Middle East, they all just want me dead. No difference. Same thing. I don't know about you guys, but whenever I see the Palestinian flag, I feel the exact same way as if...
You might be doing a little bit of projection there. Today, as Trump cuts all remaining federal funding to Harvard, posters appear across campus calling out the Harvard Corporation, the presidents and fellows, for their complicity in the Jew hatred that's been allowed to fester on campus. If they can't protect Jewish students or uphold the university's most basic values, they should be removed and replaced. Okay, I don't really care about this. What's this? Probably shouldn't have behaved like this without security, but I can't help it.
Hi! I'm Israel, hi!
Bro! Okay, she was not kidding. Whenever she sees a Palestinian flag, she just sees red. This car has the Palestinian flag like covering its license plate or as part of its license plate. Maybe they don't need a license plate in the front. And she just, oh my god, she's so hateful. She just has to like flick them off. Like, this is the definition of crybullying. It's a group of people getting genocided by the country you're defending online and in person. That's like your career, I guess, right now, defending Israel. You see someone like showing solidarity with those people, basically just saying like, I'm not forgetting about you. And you can't help but be so spiteful and hateful that you have to flick them off and then like basically say that, oh, you're advocating for my death, you're a Nazi, and then go turn around and start crying and be like, oh, I'm at risk, I'm the one that's needs security for doing this. Like, the definition of a crybully. It's all projection too. Wait, I don't want to make a comment. I want to read the comments. What a horrible example of a Jewish mother you are for your kids. But if someone gave you the middle finger, it's anti-Semitism. Well, I do love the fact that she's getting called out. This is just straight up a hate crime. This is the lady that's so scared. Okay.
It is also Yom Yerushalayim, where we celebrate the miracle of Jerusalem. For 2,000 years, the Jewish people were exiled, and we didn't have access to the area where our two ancient temples both stood. After a 6-day war in 1967, we miraculously came home to our eternal capital. I'll never forget the first time that I stood in Jerusalem at the Kotel, the Western Wall. I didn't grow up religious, and I didn't grow up in a family that went to Israel. The first time that I went, when I was 18 years old, I didn't really have any expectations of how it would make me feel. But as I stood there and I touched the stones, I thought about my ancestors and everything that they had.
I thought about how I was going to justify the idea that we're colonizing Gaza. It's open hunting season on Jews. Nobody's coming to save us. Wake up, arm up, responsibly. This is not about being cool or tough, but it's about survival. Are you fucking kidding me? Okay. Like, this woman's gonna fucking kill someone, I swear to God. She's gonna see, she's already, like, she said, oh, I see a Palestinian flag and I think they're going to kill me. Those are the people that just want me dead. So what's to stop her from seeing someone with a Palestinian flag and just shooting them? Because in her mind, that would be an act of self-defense.
If you're weak, you're dead. But if you're strong, they listen to you. I don't expect them to love me. I'm not the kind of Jew.
Bro, why would you say this isn't about being cool or tough? And then immediately you start off with saying, if you're weak, if you're weak, you're dead. If you're strong, they listen to you.
If you're weak, you're dead. But if you're...
I love how it's video footage of her using a gun for the first time in her life. The guy at the shooting range is telling her how to hold the gun. Like, she obviously doesn't own a gun. She just said in her post the next day, I need security for this. Oh my God, it's so funny.
If you're weak, you're dead. But if you're strong, they listen to you. I don't expect them to love me. I'm not the kind of Jew who walks around begging people to love me. Do you know when they love us? After every Holocaust. After the murder of innocent Jews, that's when they love us. That's when they give us plaques and monuments. Well, I'm tired of Kaddish. And I'm tired of yardzites. And I'm tired of vigils. I'm tired of Shiva. I am tired of plaques. And I am tired of monuments.
My God.
I don't want love. I want respect.
The day she became strong.
If you're weak, you're dead.
I'm getting a gun so it can have respect. Wow, this just is endless. It's endless. Okay, I'm done. I'm done explaining away. I wish that she actually stopped posting when she said she was done. She did Jerusalem Post stuff. Whoops. Like, it's just so fucking hateful. Like, you can see that there's Jewish people in the Palestinian side. Like, what? Ah, man. All right, one more. Jerusalem Post. Whoops. This morning, with our miracles, release hostages I've come to know and love like family. Keith and Ava Siegel. Please listen in full and share. Okay. Oh, what's this? Violent mass protesters stormed UCLA's campus today in support of Hamas. Where's the university administration? The violent mass protesters. They're just slowly walking down the stairs. They're obviously college students. They're violently walking down the stairs. Okay, all right, whatever.
But I am so deep.
Okay, wait. So she no longer feels safe to go to NYU. NYU is now a place where I would no longer feel welcome. Is devastating and infuriating. My heart goes out to every Jewish student that had to sit through this despicable display of hate and lies. Is this one of the valedictorians that gave a speech basically saying free Palestine?
I know that I shouldn't be surprised, but I am so deeply emotional about this situation. The keynote speaker at the Gallatin NYU graduation decided to use that opportunity to talk about the atrocities being committed in Palestine.
What? Why did she put Palestine in quotes? Okay, first of all, come on. Even Israel agrees that 54,000 people have been killed. You don't have to put atrocities in quotes. You know, like, unless you think that killing Palestinians is a morally good thing. Like, even the most disgusting Zionists online will say that, you know, Israel's gone a little bit too far. They shouldn't be killing so many civilians. But, like, that's just the way Hamas fights. It's unfortunate, but that's just the way that Israel's forced to carry out their removal of Hamas from Gaza. Like, even the most vile Islamophobes and Zionists will say that. But she's just like, oh yeah, I mean, he really says it's atrocities, huh? And in Palestine, why does she put Palestine in quotes?
NYU graduation decided to use that opportunity to talk about the atrocities being committed in Palestine.
The only thing that is appropriate to say in this time and to a group this large is a recognition of the atrocities currently happening in Palestine. The genocide currently occurring is supported politically and militarily by the United States.
I don't need to explain to you.
Bro, that was a great graduation speech, by the way. Like, what's the rebuttal? Saying that killing Palestinians is not a bad thing? Is that what she's going to say?
I need to say, I had the best years of my life at Gallatin. Such a special place. Oasis within NYU.
Wait, now she's just going to say that, oh, those words made Jewish students feel, like, attacked? Is that what she's going to say?
That I loved. That allowed me to become me. This feels like a betrayal. They would allow this person to get up and use this platform, this moment, this graduation where there are Jewish students to spread propaganda and lies. Last year I made a video calling out Gallatin because there was a professor that they had on staff who spoke openly about his participation in the Intifada, throwing Molotov cocktails. Never understood why he was hired in the first place. It was only after all the information came out and there was an uproar that they said he's no longer employed here. I upset the powers that be at Gallatin because I was then brought in by the Dean of Gallatin, Victoria Rosner, who asked me if we could have an off-the-record conversation. We sat around a table, We had a very open and honest discussion. I broke down in tears. It felt like there was a sense of trust there, a sense of understanding, not allowing something like this to happen. And here we are.
Bro, it's just so crazy. Like, what this woman's doing, what Netanyahu's doing, what Donald Trump is doing, where if you say free Palestine or you do any kind of activism online or in person in favor of Palestine, you get labeled as anti-Semitic, is the most dangerous type of propaganda you can put out there. Because if you say free Palestine is anti-Semitic, then you are equating all Jewish people, whether in America or anywhere around the world, even the Jewish people within Israel, as support for Israel's actions. You are saying that if you are criticizing of Israel, then you're criticizing of all Jewish people everywhere. And so by their own logic, by this woman's logic, if you want to resist the actions of Israel, then by her logic, any kind of Jewish person would be fair target for them. And so you do get violent actions against Jewish people, and I think like this type of rhetoric is exactly to be blamed for that kind of violence. When there's such a conflation by Zionists between all Jewish people around the world and the actions of the Israeli government, if you're hearing that, why would you not say that all Jewish institutions are supportive of the Zionist occupation of Palestine? And so if you do harm upon those Jewish institutions, by some kind of extension, you're doing harm upon the occupation. It's this kind of conflation that Sam Cedar rightfully called out when he was having a conversation with Ethan Klein as extremely dangerous and extremely anti-Semitic. And then Ethan Klein just shut his brain off at it and continues to do it to this day.
Watched Dean Rosner get up and introduce this speaker. Nobody got up to stop them. And what kills me is this.
So she wanted the speaker to literally be tackled to the ground and dragged out of the room because he dared to say, I would like to highlight the atrocities that we are complicit in funding as Americans.
Is the next generation of our leaders. What is our future going to look like? Everyone thinks about their greatest memories with fondness, hoping their children will one day be able to have similar experiences. To think that I had such a positive, beautiful experience at Gallatin, I was so involved in every aspect of student life, and how I would feel so unwelcome there today, how I could never send my kids to a school like this. And like I said, I know I shouldn't be surprised, but this is just so heartbreaking to me. I feel sick to my stomach over all of this. Dean Rosner, you told me to reach out to you if there was an issue. I don't think you're going to be surprised that I take issue with this.
Anyway, so, like, once again, there's people like this in the world that insist on just, like, getting down into the dirt, just doing the bare bottom of the barrel kind of Zionist propaganda, saying free Palestine is equivalent to Heil Hitler, the Palestinian flag is equivalent to the swastika. Every single Palestinian demonstration, pro-Palestinian demonstration, is a call for violence. It's anti-Semitic. It's a violent riot that's happening against Jewish people. And the constant equating of Jewishness to being in favor of Israel. And not only is that dangerous to Jewish people, but it's also extremely dangerous to Palestinian people and the people that Israel is killing and ethnically cleansing. Because this is, I haven't really talked about this, but it's something that kind of got popular. So you have people like Thom Yorke, who's releases a statement and he's like, oh yeah, I feel so bad because, like, obviously we need to fight against anti-Semitism, which is criticizing Israel, and people being like, Israel should stop being an ethno-state. When, like, people that aren't even really politically involved see that people are calling for Israel to get dismantled and its ethno-state status to be completely destroyed, and he thinks that's anti-Semitism. So it is really radicalizing, and it is increasing anti-Semitism, both real and perceived. So let's take a look at Thom Yorke's statement. It's a personal problem if she feels uncomfortable on campus. What the fuck? I mean, she's just insanely Islamophobic and racist against Palestinians, and so any kind of support for Palestinians she'll see as something that needs to be condemned. And it's just like if a Klan member sees a black person, they get uncomfortable and they start feeling like they're the victim, even though it's just bigotry. And so when she sees Palestinian flags, when she sees people chanting Free Palestine, she feels that she's the victim, even though she's the bigoted person advocating for the genocide of Palestinian people. Radiohead's Thom Yorke condemns cynical Hamas extremist Netanyahu government. What was the statement that he made? On Friday, Yorke posted an extended statement on Instagram lamenting the pressure he had faced to comment on the war, saying that it had affected his mental health. Then he gave the crowd what it wanted, writing, "For those who need to know, let me fill in the blanks." Like, oh my god. Why can these articles never actually just include the fucking screenshot? Thom Yorke, Instagram. Like, they always insist on editorializing the actual post of the person they're reporting on. By the way, I love Radiohead. So we'll see how I fall onto this. She's an unreasonable person. There's no need to validate her logic. There's no need to validate her logic, but it is important to actually try to explain where that stance is coming from, because it's a pattern we see with a lot of Zionists. And so I think that if you can kind of encapsulate her logic and understand it, I wouldn't even say logic, but if you can understand why she's doing the things she's doing, then you can recognize it more. He's playing he's a fucking millionaire, but some guy shouted at him when he was doing a concert, and so now he's the victim. Okay. Some guy shouting at me from the dark last year when I was picking up a guitar to sing the final song alone in front of 9,000 people in Melbourne didn't really seem like the best moment to discuss the unfolding humanitarian catastrophe in Gaza. Okay, what is there a video of that? I'm kind of serious, kind of curious.
Come up here and say that, right here. Come on. Come up on the fucking stage.
Okay, so I love this because, like, these people that have platforms get so pissy when they're called out, correctly so, for not commenting about the atrocities in Gaza that are being committed. And, like, the entire world is complicit in the genocide in Gaza. And I think that if you have a platform, you should be called out for not speaking out about it. If you're just like a regular person, you go to work, you don't really post on social media, and you're not really into politics or anything at all, and you just like work at your desk job, come home, go to sleep, that's fine. Like, should random people come up to you on the street and like yell at you like, oh, condemn Gaza? No, I don't think so, because there's not really much you're doing by not speaking out about it. Even though I think everyone should be getting involved and everyone should be calling their legislators and their representatives and demanding them to actually try to push for an end to this genocide. I think that would be a good thing to do. But if you're a protester, like, you shouldn't spend your time just like yelling at random people. There's better things you can do. But like, if you're a musician, I'm sorry, I'm not going to give a fuck if someone yells at you. Like, let's say Thom Yorke hasn't said anything Zionist at all. He's just blotted the idea of Israel and Palestine out of his head, and he hasn't said anything that could remotely be taken as, oh, he's a Zionist and he's actually in favor of the genocide that's going on. he is still opening himself up to criticism and being yelled at by not talking about it in the slightest. You're one of the most famous musicians in the world. You're kind of like anti-cultural or countercultural with your music. That's the fan base that your music attracts. And so you shouldn't be surprised when people call on you to really highlight and speak out about a social injustice that the world is allowing to happen. This is from Thom right now. Let me check it out. Oops. But anyway, like, yeah, I'm not really going to, I like, if you're a famous person, you have a platform, and you haven't spoken out about these atrocities, then yes, you shouldn't be mad when someone yells at you about it. But it's one thing to be yelled at and the person's in the crowd and you just are like, oh, they yelled at me. Well, whatever. I'm just gonna like not let it ruin my night. I'm gonna play my guitar still. But then he does let it ruin his night. He's like, okay, get up here and say it. Like, please, I want the person to actually come up onto the stage and talk to him. Like, Thom Yorke says, I don't think that was the perfect time for a conversation. Then why did he invite the guy to have a conversation with him on stage? Like, it's one thing to be yelled at and just ignore it, but then he gets actually triggered by it.
Come up on the fucking stage and say what you want to say.
Come up on the fucking stage.
Don't stand there like a coward. Come here and say it.
I mean, like the security guards would ever let the guy onto the stage. What the fuck is he talking? Are they actually? There's clearly no one in the crowd right next to the stage. There's a bunch of security guarding him, right?
You want to piss on everybody's night? Come on.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. So once again, the idea that it's the guy yelling about genocide, he's the one that's ruining the night of people, is just, it's just that it's in such poor taste. It's so entitled, so oblivious to the horrors that are being committed in Gaza that the guy's yelling about, to be like, oh, you're yelling about genocide? Well, way to ruin the night. You're really bringing down the mood in this concert.
Okay, you did. See you later then.
He left. Bro, okay. Okay, like, he must have actually been a Zionist, right? Because what is this? Let me read a little bit of this article. The lead singer of Radiohead clashed with an anti-Israel heckler before storming off stage. Thom Yorke. Protester began yelling about the Jewish state. While it was not entirely clear what the protester said from the footage, reports said that heckler referenced the death toll of Palestinians in Gaza. Come up here and say that right now, Yorke responded. Come up on the fucking stage and say what you want. Don't stand there like a coward. Come here and say it, he said as the crowd roared. Come on, you want to piss on everybody's night? Okay. You do. See you later then, Yorke said, then left the stage. Many in the crowd cried no in disappointment. He later returned to the stage to perform a final number, Radiohead's Karma Police. Radiohead, which is... So why... Okay, what is this? Radiohead has been the target of BDS movement against Israel, especially in the lead up to its 2017 concert in Tel Aviv. In response, Yorke called BDS protesters offensive and patronizing. Okay, so he does have like a sore spot for being criticized for performing in Israel. The band first performed in Israel in 1993 and then again in 2000. Lead guitarist Johnny Greenwood, who is married to Israeli visual artist Sharona Cotton, partnered for an album last year with Israeli singer Dudu Tassa, along with artists throughout the Middle East, including Palestinian singer Fatik, Egyptian singer Ahmed Doma, and Moroccan singer Mohsin Salaheddine. Greenwood pushed back on critics this year who urged him to cancel a planned tour with Tassa in Europe due to the ongoing war. Okay, so these people actually have been criticized for their close proximity to Israel and Israeli musicians. What an accent. Okay, come on. 3 cheers for Thom Yorke. Enough of these myopic protesters who disrupt everything with their self-righteousness. They would find more sympathy if they actually understood the problems and worked towards the solution. Yeah. Just like the classic, wow, you just don't understand history. There's a reason why Israel needs to kill like 50 children in the past week. Anyway, so yeah, here's a little bit of Radiohead's ties to Israel. They performed in Israel. The guitarist is married to an Israeli, and he's partnering with more Israeli musicians. They got criticized when they performed in Israel. And then I guess they're just like, stop criticizing me for performing at an ethno-state. Love the self-victimization. What's this? Poor Zionist victims? Oh, yeah. Karma police arrest this man. Me, hostages October 7th, Hamas, me. Okay, so he's getting lit up at the comments of his Instagram post. Let's go. 77 years of occupation, oppression, and violence, and you don't understand why Hamas operates. All right, so now that we know that he's kind of a petulant child when it comes to being criticized for working with Israel, we can use that context to inform us as we read his 8-page post. Some guy shouting at me from the dark last year when I was picking up a guitar to sing the final song alone in front of 9,000 people in Melbourne. Didn't it really seem like the best moment to discuss the unfolding humanitarian catastrophe in Gaza? And yet you invited him up there. Once again, when was this? This was posted 3 days ago. He calls it unfolding. It's an unfolding humanitarian catastrophe. Bruh. First of all, unfolding. Like, if you're gonna call it, first of all, it's not a humanitarian catastrophe. It's a genocide. It's man-made. The idea that it's some kind of like fucking tsunami and that's a humanitarian catastrophe that we all need to that we're all trying to get the world to respond to is insane. It's not a flood. It's a flood of bombs that the United States made, and the rest of the world is just standing by watching it drop on Palestinians. And then so it's it's already a Zionist phrase to call it a humanitarian catastrophe because it's inherently downplaying the agency that Israel has in causing this. But then he says the unfolding humanitarian catastrophe. I mean, maybe he's like, it was last year. I don't know when this concert took place. When did it take place? It was in October. That's over a year. That's over a year of genocide when that happened, bro. Oh yeah, like it's a year of genocide, but it's still just unfolding. It's a pretty big fucking origami piece of death, isn't it? Afterwards, I remained in shock that my supposed silence was somehow being taken as complicity, and I struggled to find an adequate way to respond to this and to carry on with the rest of the shows on the tour. Motherfucker, you basically rage quit when someone was yelling about the deaths that Israel was doing. You weren't silent. You didn't just ignore it and continue playing because you're like, even if it was an Israeli yelling about October 7th, I would have still played my guitar. No. You responded to the person and then you rage quit. What do you mean that you have supposed silence? You quite literally were not silent. That silence, by attempt to show respect for all those who are suffering and those who have died. What? You weren't silent. You responded to the man and then rage quit because he was yelling about the deaths in Palestine. What the fuck are you talking about? Roger Waters' interview with Abby Martin, he spoke about this. Okay. That silence, my attempt to show respect for all those who are suffering and those who have died and not to trivialize it in a few words, has allowed other opportunistic, not to trivialize it in a few words. You could have, once again, you could have spoken about it. You could have been like, yes, free Palestine, and that would have been enough for people to not say you're a Zionist. But instead you're like, wow, way to bring down the mood, bro. And then you left. Has allowed other opportunistic groups to use intimidation and defamation to fill in the blank. and I regret giving them this chance. This has had a very heavy toll on my mental health. Oh my God. The fucking suffering of Zionists online. Oh, people are being mean to me. People are shouting about the tens of thousands of people killed in Gaza, the hundreds of thousands of people displaced, and probably hundreds of thousands of people being killed. We're total, like, killed in total. But no, that's giving me a toll on my mental health. Cry me a river. Cry me a river. I would hope that for anyone who has ever listened to a note of the music of my band or any of the music I've created, uncapitalized I, have created over the years, or looked at the artwork or read any of the lyrics, okay, just say have heard my music. God damn, bro. It would be self-evident that I could not possibly support any form of extremism or dehumanization of others. Capitalize your eyes. All I see in a lifetime's worth of work with my fellow musicians and artists is a pushing against such things. All I see in a lifetime's worth of work with my fellow musicians and artists is pushing against such things. Trying to create work that goes beyond what it means to be controlled, coerced, threatened, to suffer, to be intimidated, and instead to encourage critical thinking beyond borders, the commonality of love and experience, and free creative expression. Sounds naff, but true. Okay, so basically you're just being like, yeah, I like being creative and not locked down inside of any kind of, I don't know, laws or control of others on my self-expression. Just once again, dude, like, at a point you need to self-restrict yourself, because if you work with a genocidal state, then you're supporting that genocide. Even in like a little, even like, obviously there's the monetary value of actually working within Israel and promoting Israeli artists that spend money in Israel. So you're providing monetary support. You're also providing just rhetorical support for Israel, being like, oh yeah, I love working in Israel. It's such a beautiful place, beautiful people. And then you're not going to speak about the atrocities Israel's committing. That is an inherent defense of those atrocities. Not even really inherent. It's like pretty direct consequence of you promoting that shit. Dude's a songwriter and is worried about not talking properly about the topic. Yeah. For others, let me fill in the blanks now so we're nice and clear. I think Netanyahu and his crew of extremists are totally out of control and need to be stopped, and that the international community should put all the pressure it can on them to cease. Their excuse of self-defense has long since worn thin and has been replaced by a transparent desire to take control of Gaza and the West Bank permanently. Okay, well, at least he can recognize that they want to take control of Gaza and the West Bank. That's a lot better than even Ethan Klein can say. I believe this ultranationalist administration has hidden itself behind a terrified and grieving people and used them to deflect any criticism, using that fear and grief to further their ultranationalist agenda with terrible consequences, as we see now with a horrific blockade of aid to Gaza. Wow, he's actually talking about some of the bad things that Gaza has experienced. He's already way better than Ethan Klein. I can't believe it. While our lives tick along as normal, these endless thousands of innocent human souls are still being expelled from the earth for what? At the same time, the unquestioning Free Palestine refrain that surrounds us all does not answer the simple question of why the hostages have still not been returned. For what possible reason? What? No. So first of all, saying Free Palestine refers to the genocide that's happening. Second of all, like, it's not a defense of the hostages being taken. It's asking for an end to the genocide and the occupation. Like, why would you assume that advocating for a genocide to end automatically means that you're defending every single aspect of, like, the governance of the people that are being genocided? Like, what this is basically a non sequitur. It does not answer the simple question of why the hostages have still not all been returned. Like, okay, who gives a fuck? It doesn't tell me what, like, 10 plus 3 is. it's completely irrelevant. Why did Hamas so now he's just like, but Hamas did bad things too? For what possible reason? I mean, is he genuinely curious why the hostages haven't been returned? They're used for bargaining chips. They're used to get ceasefires done, and they're also used to try to free Palestinian hostages that Israel's taken. Yeah, there's no mention of the Palestinian hostages either, because these people don't even understand that there are Palestinian hostages. Why did Hamas choose the truly horrific acts of October 7th? The answer seems obvious, and I believe Hamas chooses too to hide behind the suffering of its own people in an equally cynical fashion for their own purposes. Well, they did October 7th to try to free their people because they tried to take hostages so they could do hostage exchanges. That's pretty much the reason why they did October 7th. And then the question is, why does Israel have so many hostages of Palestinians? I also think there is a further and extremely important point to make. Social media witch hunts, nothing new on either side, pressurizing. No, dude, is your more important point to make? Oh, by the way, my camera's covering this. Your more important point to make is social media posting is getting cyberbullied? That's your more... Like, bro, this is why people are so critical of liberal Zionists. Because they're like, yes, there's hundreds of thousands of souls in Palestine leaving this earth. But more importantly, let's talk about how I've been getting criticized. It's made my life a living hell. It's like, bro, people that are speaking out about this shit are literally getting deported from the United States. They're getting harassed and doxxed by extremist pro-Israeli organizations online. And you're going to sit here and be like, people were mean to me online because I had a little hissy fit when I was at a concert and someone yelled at me. Like, you're a joke. You're a fucking joke, dude. Social media witch hunts, nothing new on either side, pressurizing artists and whoever they feel like that week to make statements, etc., do very little except heighten the tension, fear, and oversimplification of what are complex problems that merit proper face-to-face debate. Oh my god, no. Bro, imagine like fucking Zach De La Rocha from Rage Against the Machine posting, these are very complex problems and they require a face-to-face debate by people. A face-to-face, like, his music is Rage Against the Machine. They're not gonna want a fucking face-to-face debate. What is this lib shit? By people who genuinely wish the killing to stop and an understanding to be found. Oh no, it's Ahmed Fuad Al-Khatib. We must endeavor to bring down the temperature and try to mediate a radical, pragmatic middle view so that we can try to have a more moderate solution of bringing people face to face. This kind of deliberate polarization does not serve our fellow human beings and perpetuates a constant us and them mentality. It destroys hope. Oh my god, I don't give a fuck about any of this shit. It destroys hope and maintains a sense of isolation, the very thing that extremists use to maintain their position. Yeah, extremists are extreme because you get criticized online. That's why there are extremists. We facilitate their hiding in plain sight if we assume that the extremists and the people they claim to represent are one of the... Bro, people saying Free Palestine are not extreme. What the fuck is wrong with you? If our world is ever to move on from these dark times and find peace, it will now only be when we rediscover what we share in common, and the extremists are sent back to sit in the darkness from whence they came. Oh my god. I sympathize completely with the desire to do something when we are witnessing such horrific suffering on our devices every day. Oh my god, what is this? Like, you're gonna use like anti-technology, anti-social media now when this is like one of the cases where it's actually a good thing to be able to witness the atrocities Israel's doing, even though they're trying to block out all knowledge of it by banning journalists from entering Gaza. It completely makes sense, but I now think it is a dangerous illusion to believe reposting or 1 or 2 line messages are meaningful, especially if it is to condemn your fellow human beings. There are unintended consequences. You can make someone feel bad for supporting genocide. Oh, maybe you should think twice before hitting that repost button of a child getting its legs blown off, because, you know, some people that support that could feel bad online. It is shouting from the darkness. It is not looking people in the eye when you speak. Oh my. Some people are too artsy for politics. It is making dangerous assumptions. It is not debate, and it is not critical thinking. Yeah, that's true. Reposting a fucking mother carrying her dead child is not critical thinking. That's a good point. Importantly, it is open to online manipulation of all kinds. Oh my god. Notice how this is all about trying to condemn the people that are reposting dead kids too aggressively, I guess. They're posting dead children too aggressively for the liking of Thom Yorke. None of it is about the just rampant dehumanization of Palestinians by Zionists online. None of it's about that. But you're not critically thinking if you're just reposting a dead child on your Twitter. You're just willy-nilly condemning people. What is the alternative? I can't answer that easily. I do know in communities around the globe, this subject is now dangerously toxic and we are in uncharted waters. We need to turn back. I am sure that to this point, what I have written here will in no way satisfy those who choose to target myself or those I work with. They will spend time picking holes and looking for reasons to continue. We're an opportunity not to be missed, no doubt, and by either side. I mean, way to just be obvious in the reason you wrote this. You're trying to not get criticized, I guess. You're literally telling people, don't criticize me. I've written this in the simple hope that I can join with the many millions of others praying for this suffering, isolation, and death to stop. I mean, notice how he hasn't said genocide at all in this entire post. Praying that we can collectively regain our humanity and dignity and our ability to reach understanding that one day soon this darkness will have passed. Thom Yorke. I mean, how is it gonna end, right? It ends by people applying pressure to their governments to apply pressure to Israel to stop it. So the idea that he's saying, don't keep reposting, don't keep making comments on social media. In fact, let's just sit back, everyone relax, and we'll pray. And then one day soon it will have passed. Just absolutely insane. Please also address why you chose to play in Tel Aviv while a camp was being bombed and people burned alive, which was widely shown across media platforms. So Thom was a real victim, got it. This is the most centrist thing I've read, and that's not a compliment and letdown. Israelis have wanted for the ethnic cleansing of Palestinians long before October 7th. This sentiment did not begin because of Hamas, let's be real. 8 slides to sit on the fence and then make it about yourself. I mean, bro, these people in the comment section are just roasting him alive. Pretty fucking crazy, dude. Obviously obviously Radiohead I don't think is as political as bands like Rage Against the Machine. So you can't really expect much political analysis from them. But the idea that he's just going to be please stop criticizing me in his Instagram post is pretty funny. That's the conclusion. I mean, at least it's honest. Okay, so oh yeah, what was I gonna read? I was gonna read something else. His bandmate. Radiohead's Thom Yorke condemns cynical Hamas. Let's see what the Times of Israel is writing about this. So, for those who need to know, let me fill in the blanks. He began by saying that he had regretted not speaking out when he was heckled during a concert. I remained in shock that my supposed silence was somehow being taken as complicity. Yorke proceeded to condemn Israeli Prime Minister. Like, why wouldn't they just have the fucking Instagram post on this article? Yorke also criticized Hamas and suggested that pro-Palestinian demonstrators were ignoring its October 7th, 2023 attack on Israel. The unquestioning Free Palestine, okay. Greenwood recently had concerts cancelled in England with his Israeli collaborator Dudu Tassa amid security concerns emanating from criticism over his engagement with Israel. They denounced censorship and said they did not believe artists should be held responsible for the misdeeds of the governments of their countries. Dudu Tassa left. I mean, he's an Israeli rock musician, singer, songwriter, and record producer. What's he posting on Instagram? Here we go. The venues and their blameless staff have received enough credible threats to conclude that it's not safe to proceed. Promoters of the shows can't be expected to fund our or our audience's protection. The campaign, which has successfully stopped the concerts, insists that this is not censorship and this isn't about silencing music or attacking individual artists, but its organizers can't have it both ways. So you said what it's not about. What did the campaign say it was about? Forcing musicians not to perform and denying people who want to hear them an opportunity to do so is so self-evidently a method of censorship and silencing. Intimidating venues into pulling our shows won't help achieve the peace and justice everyone in the Middle East deserves. This cancellation will be hailed as a victory by the campaigners behind it, but we see nothing to celebrate and don't find that anything positive has been achieved. We believe... Holy shit, this is a long post. All the others in Hebrew. We completely agree with people who ask, how can this be more important than what's happening in Gaza and Israel? They're right, it isn't. How could it be what in anyone's upcoming cultural life is? For some on the left, we're playing it to absolve ourselves of our collective sins. Yeah, I think that people are critical of you because you're living in Israel. Or maybe you're a Zionist, I don't fucking know. Okay, so anyway, I don't really give a fuck. My concert got canceled because people are mad that I live in a genocidal ethno-state. So, what was I gonna look at again? Wanted to look at... Eddie... Sharona Katan. So she wrote, man. So I read something that she wrote about Israel and Palestine. Sharona Katan. Does she have a Twitter that she posted on? I am like it or not. Oh, she's literally just like a reposting Israeli propaganda. Like, maybe that's why people were protesting you, not because you're so pro-peace, but because you're married to a Zionist. Shona Katan on Haaretz. She's a writer on Haaretz. Okay. What? I have to subscribe to this? Register to get up to 6 articles per month. I guess free. Sharona Katan opinion article. Maybe you can just get this for free. I don't want to subscribe. I have to close some tabs. My computer is mad at me right now. Okay, anyway, well, that's good enough. So I just think that, like, this is so funny. There was another, like, there was a firebombing of someone who was Jewish, and now we, like, obviously we're going to get more people talking about how the left is in support of violence against Jewish people. Like, the amount of whataboutism and attempts to justify this attack are truly sick and twisted. Normalizing violence against the Jewish community in the West because of Israeli actions is wrong, indefensible, and is highly damaging to all. Rageful hate and anti-Semitism have gone up. Like, where are we talking about? Who's normalizing violence against Jewish people? And then just like, yeah, I don't think that this is like an incorrect thing to say, where Kat Abugazela says, I don't want to see a single person saying this was warranted by the carnage in Gaza, that this was for Palestinians. Like, it's a Jewish person getting blamed for the actions of Israel, if it was a targeted anti-Semitic attack. But once again, it's like, this is an idea that Zionists are perpetuating. The idea that Jews are responsible for the actions of Israel, and that if you criticize Israel, that is being anti-Semitic. At the same time that people are freaking out about a person getting killed in the United States, Israel kills 32 Palestinians at the fucking aid sites yesterday. So they killed like 15 people last week by shooting them at aid sites, and now yesterday they kill another 32 Palestinians. So we have this Al Jazeera article. Israel kills 32 Palestinians waiting for food at US-backed Gaza aid sites. Troops gun down starving crowds, capping a deadly first week of operations for the controversial Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. So we can take a little look at this video.
We begin with breaking news from southern Gaza. Israeli forces have opened fire at Palestinians gathered near an aid distribution site in Rafah. At least 30 have been killed and more than 100 are wounded. The aid site is under the control of the controversial Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, which is backed by the US and Israel. The United Nations has accused the organisation of weaponising aid, warning that it could serve to depopulate northern Gaza as planned by the Israeli military. Well, for more on this, we're going to speak to Hind Qadri. She joins us on the phone from Deir al-Balah in central Gaza. Hind, first of all, can you tell us a little bit more about this attack in Rafah?
So we have been trying to collect testimonies, trying to talk to people who went there, like why did they go, how did they go, and what the process, and who told them that there is a distribution, for example, today. So one of the women said that they were in their tents, and then the Israeli quadcopter sent this message out telling them to go to this distribution point in Muraj, in Rafah. And these people were living in Mawasi Khan Yunis, between Mawasi Khan Yunis and Mawasi Rafah. So that's how Palestinians started to go to that area. Now, the minute people started reaching, the Israeli forces opened live fire against them, killing at least 10 Palestinians and injuring at least 115. What we need to know is these people were going to receive food parcels. They were not going to approach anything else. And we know how devastated Palestinians have been the past couple of months, especially after the Israeli forces imposed this very strict blockade, banning all the goods and food and supplies to enter the Gaza Strip. But not only that, when people in Rafah and Khan Yunis started hearing that more people went to the distribution point, people in Mitzrayim also started going, and they thought that there is another distribution point in the other distribution point in the central Gaza. So people also started approaching the Mitzrayim point, and at least one Palestinian has been killed and dozens of others have been injured. So far, there has been no distribution point today, but people approached because there was a message from a quadcopter telling them that there is a distribution today.
OK, Hind, so two attacks on two different distribution points just in the last couple of hours. I mean, how nervous are Palestinians there? How nervous are people in approaching them now to get aid, even though they desperately need food and water and medical supplies?
People are very stressed, and all they want.
Bro, it's so dystopian. So you have a fucking Israeli drone coming to you in your refugee tents because your entire house has been bombed, and then the Israeli military has been saying, leave this area, otherwise we're going to kill you, because we're just defining anyone who stays here as a militant, so we're going to kill anyone that stays here. So you're in your refugee tent, a drone comes over, tells you to go to the distribution site like 5 miles away. You grab your pot so that you can get food, and then they just start shooting you as you show up. Like, it's fucking just unimaginable conditions. It really is. Like, goddamn. Just designing it to be like shooting fish in a barrel.
Want is to feed their families, is to secure one meal for their children. And this is why Palestinians have been going to this distribution point, despite the fact that they know that it's controversial, it's backed by the U.S. and Israel, but they do not have any other option. They're saying that all we need is getting food. And even the food parcel that was distributed on Palestinians is barely enough. We're talking about 1 kilo of flour, a couple of bags of pasta, a couple of fava beans, canned fava beans, and it's not nutritious, or it's not enough for a family in Gaza nowadays. So Palestinians are very, very stressed and devastated. Whatever is coming in of the wheat, flour, and food is not distributed yet, and the situation is very, very dire. That's why we're seeing Palestinians very devastated.
I mean, where was I reading? I think it was I don't know. I read in some article, and I thought it was well put, where this aid distribution is a mockery of the actual needs that humanitarian organizations are clamoring for. It is Netanyahu's genocidal government mocking the idea that aid actually must be distributed to Palestinians. They set up these aid distribution sites, which are nothing more than pens to then slaughter Palestinians at. They slaughter Palestinians that show up there. They force them to ethnically cleanse themselves from their homes, and then they shoot them. The ones that don't get shot get a meaningless amount of food. It's not enough. And it's simply a way to like mock the needs of the Palestinian people. It's also a way to use a thin veneer of Israel's doing the bare minimum of giving people aid. Look, we're not starving them. See, we have these aid distribution sites set up where it hasn't been like 2 days where people don't get shot at them. Don't worry, we're giving them like a bucket of flour that should feed 5,000 people for 2 weeks. No, don't worry about it. Like they're all good. They're all good. So let's just read a little bit of this article. Israel has killed at least 32 Palestinians waiting to get food at 2 aid distribution sites in Gaza, leaving more than 200 others injured. Oh my God. Israeli tanks opened fire on thousands of civilians gathered at a distribution site in southern Gaza's Rafah on Sunday morning, killing at least 31 people, according to Gaza's government media office. Soon after, another person was killed in a shooting at a similar distribution point south of Netzarim corridor in Gaza City, it said in a statement on Telegram. The aid is being distributed by Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, a controversial group backed by Israel and the United States, which has completed a chaotic first week of operations in the enclave. GHF Executive Director, U.S. veteran Jake Woods, resigned before the distribution began, stating that it is clear that it is not possible to implement this plan while adhering to the humanitarian principles of humanity, neutrality, impartiality, and independence. I mean, how much of a larger condemnation could you get where the organization's executive director resigns by saying that this is going to be a humanitarian disaster? Your own fucking executive director resigns because he's like, we can't do this. This is going to be horrible. And then they're just like, okay, well, we're just going to go ahead with it anyway. Hey, welcome to the channel membership. Tetrafun. Tetrafun. Hopefully I got that right. How are they supposed to cook rice and pasta with no electricity and especially no water? Well, I'd say burn stuff, but then the Israeli military might think that they're trying to make bombs, or if you burn a piece of wood or some debris, they're going to think that that's weapons. Remember how Ethan Klein was like, oh, they did Hamas actions when they approached the border. And what was the Hamas actions? They threw rocks and burned tires. That was the Hamas actions. Aid distribution has become a death trap, the head of the UN Agency for Palestinian Refugees, Philippe Lazzarini, said in a statement on Sunday. The Israeli military said in a statement that its forces did not fire at civilians near or within the site, citing an initial inquiry. Okay. Yeah. Such trustworthy people. In recent hours, false reports have been spread, including serious allegations against regarding fire toward Gazan residents in the area of the humanitarian aid distribution site in the Gaza Strip, the army said. Yeah, I'm sure the army's telling the truth. They need to do an initial, just off of their initial inquiry. Those are false reports that are spreading serious allegations against us. Findings from an initial inquiry indicate that the Israeli soldiers did not fire at civilians while they were near or within the humanitarian aid distribution site. Like, why? It said, adding that the reports of this effect are false. Like, I love that they can't even say, we didn't fire at civilians. But what they say is, we didn't fire at civilians that were within the humanitarian aid distribution site. It's like the most genocidal version of, what's the fucking, like, it's like, what's the game you play in elementary school where you can run to the safe zone, and if you make it into the safe zone, you can't get tagged? It's like, it's kind of like capture the flag, I guess. Like, you just need to make it to the next safe zone and then you're not going to die. The GHF had earlier told the Associated Press news agency that Israeli soldiers fired warning shots as Palestinians gathered to receive food. The group denied reports that dozens of people were killed, describing them as false reporting about deaths, mass injuries, and chaos. Yeah, I'm going to fucking believe the aid distribution group that the executive director quit from because they said it was impossible to do it in a humanitarian way. Octopus? Yeah, octopus sounds familiar. That might be what I'm thinking of. However, Ibrahim Abu Sawad, who witnessed the attack on aid seekers in Rafah, told AP that Israeli forces opened fire on people as they moved towards the distribution point. The 40-year-old said the crowd was about 300 meters away from the military. He said he saw many people with gunshot wounds, including a young man who died at the scene. Wow, I did not read that well. He said he saw many people with gunshot wounds, including a young man who died at the scene. Oh, he just doesn't understand. Those are Hamas gunshot wounds. Or maybe it's just that when you got trampled, maybe when the crowd did trampling on each other, the wounds that they got from getting trampled just looked like gunshots, but they totally were warning shots. Al Jazeera's Hind Kudari. I know. Yeah, I just had a childhood memory unlocked too. And I'm like, oh, what's that game? Like, I remember there was like a big circle and you have to like run into the circle. From Deir al-Balah in central Gaza said Palestinians are being killed while trying to secure one meal for their children. This is why Palestinians have been going to these distribution points despite the fact that they know they are controversial. The distribution points are backed by the US and Israel, but they do not have any other option, she said. Even the food parcels that were distributed to Palestinians are barely enough. We are talking about 1 kilo of flour, a couple bags of pasta, a couple cans of fava beans. It's not nutritious. It's not enough for a family in Gaza nowadays. What's this? 2-minute video.
For the buyers and sellers at this Gaza flower market, every scrap of this staple is precious. They watch them weighed with care.
I don't know what to say about this war. Look, I buy just 1 kilogram of flour each day for my little children. This famine has killed many children, and many have died from malnutrition. We hope that the countries of the world will come and see how Gaza is
Remember when Lonerbox was like, well, they said that famine was going to be inevitable, and there's just no evidence of that at all. It's like, Israel's done famine before this last 2-month period where they just did a blockade of no food getting in at all. I mean, the idea that you're so confidently saying people aren't dying of starvation. So if you call it a famine, that's a little hyperbolic, don't you think? Like, ridiculous. Just so fucking scummy.
We hope that the countries of the world will come and see how Gaza is really living. They don't feel it, but we do. We are living this suffering. We plead with all nations and the United Nations to help the people of Gaza.
Around the world, the average price of a kilo of flour is about $1.50. Under Israel's blockade of Gaza, a kilo of flour can cost as much as $20.
I have only one son, my only child. For the past 10 days, he has been begging me to buy flour. I was forced to come up with the money for 1 kilogram of flour, so he wouldn't die.
Before the war, average daily wages for Palestinians across Gaza were around $18, according to the Palestinian Central Bureau of Statistics. Now, Gaza's economy is shattered, and it's all about survival and reliance on handouts.
Oh my God.
Because I'm a widow, I was given
Thank you for the 50 gifted memberships.
some money and bought this flour, which I expect will last my children 3 days. As for the other days, we'll rely on community kitchens. We don't know what to do. We constantly pray for God to be with us and for this war to end.
The UN's Palestinian Relief Agency, UNRWA, is still subject to a ban by Israel. For decades, it has been an essential lifeline for Palestinians in Gaza.
Even if flour costs just $3, I still wouldn't afford it. What's happening is injustice. Unless it goes directly to UNRWA, we are not going to get any aid. Not me or anyone else will be able to get anything.
Israel has refused to allow UN aid into Gaza, and the US-backed Gaza Humanitarian Foundation has so far failed to make up the difference. For the people of Gaza, it's not just the bombs they need to survive, it's the risk of starving to death. Wilson Dysard, Al Jazeera.
Yeah, I mean, they just said it right there. This new aid distribution site is just a tool of ethnic cleansing. And really, like, UNRWA is embedded in the population, helping people out at every level of Gaza, every point of Gaza. And that's the organization that's doing the most help, and it's banned by Israel. So, yeah, they're not really hiding the idea that they're... Yeah, thanks so much for the 50 gifted subs, Tetrafoon. I haven't really seen your username pop up, but I'm going to try to be live streaming more and maybe do some more members-only content. I don't know. Speaking from Gaza City, Bassem Zakat of the Palestinian Medical Relief Society said the current aid distribution mechanism had replaced 400 former distribution points with just 4. So, yeah, this is what I'm saying. Like, there is aid distribution set up throughout Gaza, and Israel's not using it, obviously, because that would allow Palestinians to get aid comfortably and not be ethnically displaced. And that's kind of the whole point of Israel trying to set up these aid sites in just the desert areas in the southern parts of Gaza. I think there are different hidden agendas in this aid distribution mechanism, he told Al Jazeera. The mechanism does not cater to the needs of the people, such as the elderly and people with disabilities. Sunday's killings capped a deadly first week for the project's operations, coming on the back of 2 earlier shootings at 2 distribution points in the south, the first in Rafah, the second west of the city, which saw a total of 9 Palestinians killed. So yeah, 9 Palestinians killed last week, and then yesterday 32 killed, shot in 2 different aid distribution sites. In Gaza, crucial aid is only trickling in after Israel partially lifted more than a 2-month total blockade. Meanwhile, Hamas said on Sunday it was ready to immediately hold a fresh round of negotiations for a truce in Gaza after recent talks appeared to hit a dead end. The movement affirms its readiness to immediately begin a round of indirect negotiations to reach an agreement on the points of contention, Hamas said. Okay, so Defense Minister Israel Katz, meanwhile, said he had told the army to continue forward in Gaza against all targets, regardless of any negotiations. I mean, come on, dude. It's literally like the fucking villain of every single movie. Just the imperial, racist pieces of shit. Oh, like we'll say that we're negotiating them, but just continue forward against all targets, regardless of negotiations. So, yeah. So this is a little bit of a timeline by Al Jazeera as well. The Freedom Flotilla Coalition says one of its vessels has left Sicily to deliver humanitarian aid to Gaza after a previous attempt failed because of a drone attack. To learn how Israel killed more than 30 Palestinians at 2 aid distribution sites and injured 200 others, read this story. That's what we covered. So 200 injured, 32 killed at 2 different aid distribution sites. As a result of these new aid distribution sites, the United Nations said that more than 632,000 Palestinians have been displaced since Israel broke the nearly 2-month-old ceasefire with Hamas on Gaza on March 18th. So it's June 2nd today. So that's been about a month and a half. 632,000 Palestinians have been displaced in a month and a half. And this is like also as a result of this aid distribution site. Israel continued its relentless bombardment of the Gaza Strip, killing at least 54 people while maintaining a strict blockade as famine looms. So, like, once again, people crying online because a protest movement got, like, firebombed. Not talking at all about the 54 people killed by Israel and how 30 were killed just trying to get food. But like 54 people killed by bombs, 32 innocent civilians killed, Israel defining the idea that they're sending distribution specifically so that only civilians, non-Hamas people, can get the aid. And then they shoot 32 people. So like they're just admitting they're killing innocent civilians. And the idea that saying free Palestine and criticizing Israel is causing violence, and yet, so your words cause violence because you're criticizing Israel online. And that caused the DC shooting. That caused like the firebombing in Colorado. But Israel bombing people and people like complicitly supporting that by not calling it out, that's not causing violence at all. So, okay. One more thing that I wanted to cover is this ceasefire deal. So Hamas agrees to Gaza ceasefire proposal, the group's chief says. So let's take a look at what this person says. Hamas chief Khalil al-Hayya said in a speech televised Saturday, so 2 days ago, that the militant group has agreed to a Gaza ceasefire proposal it received this week from mediators in Egypt and Qatar.
Hamas chief Khalil al-Hayya said in a speech televised Saturday that the militant group has agreed to a Gaza ceasefire proposal it received this week from mediators in Egypt and Qatar. He added that he hopes the Israeli occupation will not undermine the plan aimed at securing a pause in the Hamas-Israel war in Gaza that erupted in October 2023. Security sources told Reuters on Thursday that Egypt had received positive indications from Israel over a new ceasefire proposal that would include a transitional phase. The proposal suggests Hamas release 5 of the Israeli hostages it is holding each week, the sources said. It comes as Hamas released video Saturday of Israeli hostage Elkanah Bobad asking for help to be freed so he can see his wife and son. And as protesters against the Israeli government like Amun Shan Gillan took to the streets of Tel Aviv to push for their return.
We're here today because we want all the hostages to come home and all the people of Gaza to come home also. All the people need to have life. We all like to live. This is what
unironically the least genocidal Israeli that I've seen in a long time on camera.
What we want.
While Palestinian
like acknowledging that Israel has Palestinian hostages too that should be released. That's pretty big.
In Gaza's Han Yunis, like Hadaya al-Najjar, prepared for Eid on Saturday, amidst Israel's resumption of an aerial and ground operation.
We want a solution. We don't want the situation to stay like this. We are people like everyone else. Aren't we human beings? Don't the children have the right to be joyful, like all the other children off the road? Why should we be different?
The Israeli Prime Minister's office said it had discussed the proposal and has sent a counter-proposal to the mediators. Reuters asked the Prime Minister's office if it had also agreed to the ceasefire proposal, but it did not immediately respond.
Oh my God, my stupid little dog. Okay. Here, I'll be right back.
There are new developments in the Middle East tonight where Hamas said it responded to the Trump administration's proposal for a ceasefire in Gaza. Danielle Hamamjian has the very latest on where peace efforts stand at this hour. Danielle.
Yeah, Jose, U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff described the response as unacceptable. Hamas says it has not rejected the deal, but it wants to change some of the terms, including the timeline. It said it would release 10 living hostages and 18 bodies in exchange for hundreds of Palestinian prisoners held by Israel. According to the outline of the proposal Hamas shared with NBC earlier, the deal would include a 60-day pause in the fighting. On Friday, President Trump said the deal was, quote, very close, and Jose, the Israeli government, echoing Witkoff's remarks tonight, saying Hamas's response only takes us backwards.
Yeah, and the response takes them backwards because they want to kill everyone in Gaza. So, Cairo, March 29th. Hamas has agreed to a Gaza ceasefire proposal it received 2 days ago from mediators in Egypt and Qatar, the Palestinian militants group chief said on Saturday. The first phase of the ceasefire between Israel and Hamas went into force on January 19th, and so we saw how that broke down. What is this? This is old. I think this was the article I read that I thought was pretty good. So, the proposal, which includes a 60-day ceasefire, is the latest attempt by the U.S. to end the fighting in Gaza that's been raging for nearly 20 months. Hamas has agreed to the 60-day ceasefire and said it would release 10 living and 18 deceased hostages in exchange for Israel releasing a number of Palestinian prisoners. But the militant group said it doesn't want to release all of the hostages at the same time in order to ensure that Israel abides by the entire length of the ceasefire. Hamas also said it wants guarantees for negotiations toward a permanent end to the war and the withdrawal of Israeli troops from Gaza. Steve Witkoff, the U.S. Special Envoy to the Middle East, said Saturday in a post on X that Hamas's response to the U.S. proposal was totally unacceptable and only takes us backwards. Okay, so what part of the proposal was unacceptable? The idea that they want to release all of the hostages to have some kind of leverage to make sure that Israel abided by the ceasefire, or the idea that they asked for guarantees to negotiate the removal of Israeli troops from Gaza. So once again, it's not even that they want Israeli troops to leave Gaza. It's that they're like, please, can you just guarantee that we can talk about them leaving Gaza, like eventually in the future? Okay. I received the Hamas response to the U.S. proposal. It is totally unacceptable and only takes us backwards. Hamas should accept the framework proposal we put forward as the basis for proximity talks, which we can begin immediately this coming week. That is the only way we can close the 60-day ceasefire deal in the coming days, in which half of the living hostages and half of those who are deceased will come home to their families, and in which we can have at the proximity talk substantive negotiations in good faith to try to reach a permanent ceasefire. So basically, he's just like, we want to not hard commit to anything. He's basically saying like, oh, Hamas wants to have guaranteed negotiations to talk about a permanent ceasefire, but we don't really want that. We just want to have a 60-day ceasefire deal now to get hostages back. So basically, it's just like they can't commit to it at all. Bassem Naim, a senior Hamas official, wrote in a post on WhatsApp over the weekend that the group had not rejected Witkoff's proposal. Rather, Naim said that the group had come to an agreement with Witkoff on a possible ceasefire proposal, but that Israel's response had differed from that agreement. Why each time is the Israeli response considered the only response for negotiation, he wrote. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said on Thursday that Israel had signed off on the Trump administration's latest ceasefire proposal before it was sent to Hamas. Witkoff said the proposal also included the return of half of the living and deceased hostages still in Gaza. Hamas is seeking to avoid a repeat of the last ceasefire when the group released hostages, but Israel did not enter talks to permanently end the war. I mean, yeah, Israel broke the last ceasefire deal they had. Which is why they're like, we want to guarantee that we can at least have negotiations about Israel withdrawing from Gaza. And Witkoff's like, no, just agree to a 60-day ceasefire now, and then like maybe we can continue having conversations. Hamas also opposes a new system to deliver like, calling this a system is actually crazy. It's not a fucking system to deliver humanitarian aid. It's basically mocking the idea of delivering humanitarian aid to Gaza. Gaza's health ministry said Sunday that 31 civilians were killed when they went to obtain aid in Rafah, but the IDF said it was false reports that had been circulating, and they did not fire at civilians. About 12. Oh yeah, and then you got here. About 1,200 people were killed in the Hamas attack against Israel, and the Israeli government said. And since then, more than 54,000 Palestinians have been killed by Israeli forces, according to Gaza health officials. Yeah. So it's not looking good. Like, the ceasefire is not looking great. What's this? Hamas seeks amendments to Gaza's ceasefire, but U.S. envoy calls it unacceptable. So this is like the latest thing that we're at, where, once again, Israel's fine doing a ceasefire deal because then they can get the hostages back. But what they balk at every point is talks about a permanent end to the war. And that's what Hamas is insistent on. That, like, Hamas wants a permanent end to the war. Israel doesn't. That's basically like the point of contention there. Okay. Guys, I think I'm going to call it there. I'll probably be streaming later today, so look for me there. But anyway, that was just a quick stream, not too long today, and kind of like this afternoon stream. But I want to thank you for watching. Thanks for commenting. Thanks for all of the gifted subs and just participating in chat. It's always more fun to do live streams than just record videos, because I can chat around with all of you. Say goodbye to this silly little animal, and I'll see you all later. All right, peace out.